To mention guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up.
Fine. So since you smeared me, let's...
I worked at the Young Turks. I was closely involved with starting the union at the Young Turks. I'm making a documentary about it. The guy lied about me. The guy lied to his audience about my friends. They smeared people they knew, and they did it with a story that they did not fact check. I used to edit some of Hasan's video. He said that Cenk skirted labor regulations.
My uncle was like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to hire someone and skirt some serious like labor regulations as his family.
If working part-time, if working 40-hour weeks while you're called part-time for zero benefits is not a reason to unionize, I don't know what the is. The guy disrespected every single person who he has spoken to. And now, as we've seen, it looks like he's going to lie to every single person in the Jubilee audience too.
And I'm going to try to bring them together.
Okay. Surrounded. All right. Okay. 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 Big news, guys. Big news here in Tell the Truth Cenk headquarters, the home of the documentary Tell the Truth Cenk about the union busting at the Young Turks. I worked at the Young Turks. I was closely involved with starting the union at the Young Turks. I'm making a documentary about it. And that is why Cenk appearing on Jubilee, which is coming up soon, is a huge deal because the teaser just dropped. And it seems that he was confronted about the union busting by somebody. I have not seen this before. I know Vanguard covered it already. We're going to watch their reaction to it too. And we're also going to look at some of the different parts of this story that show you where Cenk is on the union busting. And in terms of what kind of accountability he's faced for it, which is none whatsoever. He's been asked about it a couple of times. He's lied both times. And I'm going to predict that I bet you he will also lie this time. Now, I want to say the premise for this is one populist versus the uniparty. At least that was the words he used when he said he did the show. And from their description at the top here, it says Cenk Uygur versus Democrats and Republicans. So, and as Cenk said, it was 10 Democrats versus 10 Republicans. And he gets to position himself as outside the system. TYT uses union busting law firms. TYT is incorporated in Delaware, which is a tax haven. Lots of corporations are incorporated there. The guy who runs TYT, the number 2 there, is a former health insurance executive. He was a health insurance executive for 12 years. This is all in the film. So TYT is perfectly situated as a corporation within the capitalist system of exploitation and extraction. So he's not an outsider. Went to the same business school as Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But he's rebranded himself as a populist. And yeah, I'll be curious if you think he is when you hear some of the reasons why we started the union at his company. Because he ain't no fucking populist, I'll tell you that. But if it's anything like his previous times he's been asked about it, I'm very confident in predicting that he does anything but be honest and actually give these people the truth. So we'll see. Let's watch it.
We've tried establishment Democrats, complete failures. We've tried establishment Republicans, complete failures. We tried fake populism under Donald Trump, complete failure.
I disagree.
So the only thing we haven't tried is left-wing populism. And you say, don't try it. Go back to the establishment Democrats. Are you crazy?
You can't vote Democrat and then say that, well, because they still support the rich and the rich still get all the tax cuts, I'm still going to cast my vote, which is the most powerful political weapon you have, to the very establishment that you're on one hand trying to tear down.
That's just weird to mention guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up.
Fine. So since you smeared me, let's explain. Claim number 1 is that Democrats and Republicans agree on economic issues and try to divide us and distract us with culture wars. Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. It's a marketing ploy, not a mission. The Republicans only care about the rich, and everything else is a mirage. Media and money control all of politics. Hi, I'm Cenk Uygur. I'm host of the Young Turks. I'm also founder of Just Democrats Wolfpack and Rebellion Pack, where we're trying to bring the country together. And here I am surrounded by 20 Democrats and Republicans, and I'm going to try to bring them together.
Okay. Surrounded. All right. Okay.
We've tried to establish.
Okay. Okay. He said he was smeared. All right. Okay. 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 Break your microphone. I'm down to like my last one that still works. Okay. Okay. I have a lot of powerful and variety of emotions about a lot of this. Let me just get this out of the way. Not that I'm going to freak out, but the problem Cenk has with my project, with my role in this whole story, is that I chose to do it first of all, because you're supposed to just go away. As I said, I worked at TYT. I initiated the second attempt at unionizing TYT, and had secret little meetings with my friends in order to talk. We didn't take any persuasion, but in order to go through the process of secretly starting a union to stop exploitative working practices. The problem Cenk has with me is that I'm as crazy as I am reasonable. I'm a fucking psycho. You got to be a kind of weirdo to get obsessive enough about something like this to go follow through with as far as I've gone. You can watch it right now. 84 minutes. I set it up. Oh God, we're going to watch the band. Oh, you close that. Here we go. 84 minutes of the documentary is currently available. Please watch these. Like, subscribe, comment, and if you're of the means, watch watch the trailer. But go to the GoFundMe. There's a link tree that you can go to. I need money. I need help. I need a lot of help. I've taken on over $30,000 in debt, rent debt, and I'd like to get enough money just to fund enough to pay. I need like 10 or 15 grand to support myself for like 6 months of editing ish to finish this documentary. It'll end up being about 2 hours. I've got a lot of it done. Fucking Adobe Premiere Pro is $2,600 a year or something like that, or whatever the hell, 60 times 12. Is that right? What is that? It's a lot. I don't have the money. I have a difficult. My income is nil, pretty much. So I've sacrificed to get this far, and I need a rally of help to get me. I'm already doing this part of this video, but like, consider it. Watch the video first. See the editing. I think you'll understand you'll see what it's like when someone who's very determined spends. All right, close that too. 2.5 years making 84 minutes of a video. It took me 2.5 years to make those 84 minutes. So, okay. But I'm a little out of my mind, but I'm also as out of my mind as I am reasonable. So in the film, I go out of my way to make Cenk's case for why his campaign, because the backdrop of the story is that the union, although it started 2 years prior, it didn't come forward. When it did come forward, our boss had become a politician. And the story that Cenk and Anna put out through there, and I have it all posted here. We're going to get back to this in a second, but I have it all posted here on Substack. Let's open it up. If you want to go read this yourself, baldontheinside.substack.com. These articles here, Behind the Facade, Why We Unionized at the Young Turks. They're long. They're filled with receipts. This one is actually way too long. Goes on and on about my experience at TYT, a lot of the stuff I did while I worked there. It gets into some of my conceptual theory brain. It's more of a thoughtful piece. There's some anger. But it's a good read. There's also 2 versions, 1 truth, evidence for my claims about the Young Turks. So TYT's version is that his political opponents started the union, that we were manipulated, or in on it even, into unionizing his company, because the union came forward while he was running for Congress. It just so happened that we were 5-ish months, and in truth, the union itself was over 1.5 years in, if you count the first attempt, which you should. So we were 5-ish months into unionizing when Cenk filed his paperwork to become a politician. Okay, so this is all detailed in the film. I don't necessarily want to go down the entire thing here, but this is their first salvo that they put out, indicating some kind of suspicion was afoot, some sort of nefarious activity was down here at the bottom. They wrote, the fact that IATSE has failed to respond to TYT, instead opting to issue misleading statements, suggests that there are other motives at play. So there's a huge contention here between someone, myself, who was there, who took initiative himself to deal with this employment conditions that I was facing in order to start a union, and someone who wasn't there, who insists that they know how it happened. Now, they haven't been very forthright, because there's a lot of detail to this, that they could come forward with if they actually had evidence or they wanted to expand on their theory for why the union started at TYT. But they won't and they can't because it's a lie, because it's bullshit. It's grounded around the fact that IATSE had endorsed Cenk's opponent, as he writes here. They situate their entire theory around this. And as I explain, given the fact that TYT was undergoing a huge amount of, or sorry, not TYT, it's an easy mistake, Cenk's campaign, which is completely separated from from his company for sure. And actually that's explored in the film. It goes in the part about talking about ethics and media stuff because they made a big show of it.
This was May of 2022. But hold up, we're missing some critical context about who calls the shots at TYT. For that, let's travel back over 2 years to the very beginning of Cenk's campaign, mid-November 2019. We're talking ethics. Since very few politicians are also daily talk show hosts, Cenk's surprise run for Congress raised legitimate concerns.
Something that's important to me is our credibility here at the Young Turks as a media company.
Cenk assures the audience he's going above and beyond.
When I'm a host on the program, I can't comment on my district or my race. Not only, look, actually, legally you can, but I don't want to.
And I don't want you to either, because
That's right.
I think it's important for us to, maintain our credibility and to, remain objective when it comes to reporting the facts.
100% right.
So who decides what airs?
I handed off editorial control of the show to Anna. She already was the executive producer of the Young Turks, so in that sense, we were already 90% of the way there. But also, Judith, who's a wonderful head of programming for us, now has editorial control over other parts of the network that are not the Young Turks.
Hey, you gotta do the right thing.
We've got to do the right thing.
Even if you don't have to.
Even if we don't have to, we should do the right thing, and we're going to.
Anna assumes her new role with trademark self-assurance.
I have full editorial control on this program now. There's obviously a conflict of interest if Cenk had any editorial control, and he does not. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you a question that's probably gonna make you incredibly uncomfortable.
A month later, Cenk goes on the Useful Idiots podcast with Katie Halper and Matt Taibbi. At the time, fellow media titan turned politician Michael Bloomberg had been criticized for his policy forbidding Bloomberg reporters from covering their boss's campaign. Asked about his approach to similar ethical issues, Cenk adopts a contrasting tack.
And I've given over editorial control to Anna for the flagship show, The Young Turks, for the TYT network. And we've told our reporters, you are allowed to cover the campaign, and you're definitely allowed to cover it negatively.
Negatively? Well, gosh, that sounds ethical.
So you cover it any way you like. I mean, I'm super proud of our very, very independent, strong-minded reporters at TYT Investigates that broke us some wonderful stories. So they're free to investigate anyone they like.
Even ball kicking?
So unlike Mike Bloomberg, if one of your people decided to just sort of kick you in the balls at the Young Turks, that'd be fine. That'd be fine, right? They're allowed to do that? Okay.
Yeah.
He welcomes their ball kicks.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Right.
They're pretty tough on folks. So,
Right.
But yes, we're independent media, so no holds barred.
No holds barred, huh? Well, over 3 years later, there has been zero coverage of Cenk's union busting, no correction of the conspiracy lie, nor any mention of the NLRB cases on any TYT show or outlet. Nothing. Zip. Bupkiss. Almost. The only content addressing it was Cenk's duplicitous ratification announcement video and a press release to accompany it written by TYT. That's it. Clearly, some holds were barred. At TYT, the journalistic integrity of the hosts and reporters seems nowhere to be found when it comes to reporting on a story that would make the boss uncomfortable.
Silence!
And I get it. Compromising your own ethics is simply less stressful than facing the wrath of an all-powerful employer, particularly if the story about said boss is retaliation against a worker for challenging his power.
Is that given that it was a very unusual campaign and that there was a lot of unknowns going on and, they had received some unfair smear from the New York Times in terms of Cenk's interview with David Duke, which was mischaracterized, and it was very clearly a bad faith smear, which they eventually did issue a correction, something Cenk or Anna has not yet done. But with enough help from you guys, we can force them to. They will eventually have to do journalism about a story about their own colleagues. That's what I'm trying to get them to do. That's why the film was called Tell the Truth, Cenk. But given that the campaign was this kind of cacophonous mess, this dramatic thing, Cenk is this big personality, his online activity. He's a different type of candidate than others. You know, he had a media apparatus behind him. He had a private videographer following him around. They were actually making a documentary called Road to Revolution, which they shelved because it became a union busting campaign. That'd be a great film. I really wish they would let me edit it, Cenk. Come on, I'll make a good movie. I'll tell the story accurately. It would make sense that they might be suspicious about a union coming forward, even though I knew the truth, even though it wasn't influenced by the outsiders. But because IATSE, now we were joining 3 different guilds within the IATSE umbrella. IATSE is the International Association of Theatrical Stage Employees. I believe I said that correctly. Or it's Alliance, something. And they are a union for production and post-production workers in the entertainment and media industries. We were professional production and post-production workers in the entertainment and media industry, which is an online media company based in Los Angeles. I was working for Cenk, as is explained here. Well, let me finish this thought first, though. Because IATSE had endorsed Christy Smith, that is very much a reason, and I'm trying to give them, steel man this, give them some grace, that, okay, that would be a little suspicious. I could see why that might raise an eyebrow, given the circumstances. But the next step is not going public. The next step is fact-checking. Basic journalism ethics 101. Confirm your details before you put out a narrative that's not true. And we're talking about a narrative that was about people that they had worked with, who they would have called friends, who Cenk would have called family, and likes to say, we're a big family. You get that a lot at TYT. Wait till you hear how he was treating his family. I don't mean his actual family. I'm not talking about that. That's his own. I don't care about that. So they smeared people they knew, and they did it with a story that they did not fact check. And it was the easiest story in the world to fact check. All they had to do was walk across the room and talk to some people that they had known for years. Rarely in a journalist's career does one find a story as easy to fact check as Cenk and Anna had when they were confronted with this suspicious union that had come forward. Man, I'm trying to keep this short. Sorry, I know I could go. There's so much other stuff on this podcast, on this channel. Look in the description, go to the playlist if you want to hear. I go on and on and on and on. So you'll get your fill if you've stumbled upon. If this is your jam, you have just hit gold. Okay, and I hope you like my bullshit. Sorry, thanks for putting up with me. So they could have said, "Hey, is this or me?" Because I was laid off a month before the union came forward. I was laid off on January 7th. The union came forward on February 12th. And I never gave them any reason to be doubtful of my honesty or integrity. They could have reached out. I honestly, I worked at TYT starting in 2013. I was a paying member before that. And I didn't have a lot of conversations with Cenk. Probably the longest was at a Christmas party, honestly. I appeared on air once with him. I used to do some stuff on air. I did Twitter storms, and I did Friday post games with Dave Kohler, Malcolm Fleshner, Steve-O. I enjoyed doing those. I worked really hard on that. I would do work at home, unpaid stuff, making graphics and little animations and shit. Yeah, I have some stories about that. They gave me shit about whether I was getting paid for appearing on one of their shows. Like the head of production, the director of programming, was giving me crap because she wasn't sure if I was supposed to get paid for the hour and a half that I spent not doing video editing. I was like, are you kidding me? Sorry, is my $21.63 an hour going to sink the company if I get paid to go sit there and be funny with Dave Kohler on one of the Friday post-game shows? Give me a fucking break. side story. Didn't make me feel real respected on top of the working conditions that drove us to unionize. But just to finish this thought, all they had to do was check the facts. Hey, Hank, when did this union start? We've heard that you're involved in because I would have been the one. Maybe it was weird to talk to people internally. I was no longer in the company. I got laid off the same day. Brooke Thomas, Francis Maxwell, and I think Hasan. Not that he was laid off, but I think they just did a round of like formal layoffs, and it was like 3. And Hasan was. I used to edit some of Hasan's videos, and he's since come forward and said that Cenk stole ad sales from him.
No longer are you doing sales. You're going to do Facebook.
Well, that's because your uncle was letting everybody steal your sales deals. That's
true.
His uncle would like let him massage a sales deal to the last thing, then someone would swoop it and close it and take the commission.
Oh, yeah. And he said that Cenk skirted labor regulations.
And, my uncle was like, "Oh, this is an opportunity for me to hire someone and skirt some serious like labor regulations because his family."
And he also told Sean O'Brien that Cenk that he desperately needed a union at TYT.
Definitely took advantage of the fact that I was his nephew in terms of, the pay structure that I worked.
So you definitely needed a union with a relative.
Oh, 100%.
No doubt.
Exactly.
I don't know if he used the word desperately. I'm adding that. So I'll grant that the IATSE endorsement is a reason for them to maybe raise an eyebrow. Maybe that, fog of war, intense, but they did not do fact checking, and they haven't corrected the story since. Because they're motivated to not be honest about it. They do not want the truth told. They erased our story, and this is the injustice I'm asking people to help me deal with. It's not just my story got erased; it's everybody's. Just tired of looking at this screenshot here. Let's look at these headlines. So there are 4 articles written that are great starting points. Go to my channel, go to tellthetruthjank.com, scroll down to sources. That's probably your fastest, easiest way to get to these articles. But, go to baldontheinside.substack.com, search for them on Google yourself. Huffington Post, In These Times, Politico, and New Republic. Cenk is interviewed in 3 of them. I'm interviewed in the New Republic article. Employees from the union were interviewed in all of them, and every single one asked for anonymity out of fear of retaliation because they were afraid that their boss would impose even more material harm on them. Cenk's union busting included a captive audience meeting, which he threw papers and threatened a worker. That's detailed in the Huffington Post article. They withheld raises and bonuses, which led to an NLRB case. Cenk was found in violation of Section 7 of the NLRA. As we will see, look, I have all this detail. This is all my working conditions. It's nuts. I don't even know if I have that notice on this one here. All right, well, here, we'll go through the website to find it here. Click on sources at the top or scroll down, NLRB cases. You can search their site for both of these yourself. Isn't that a cool background, by the way? And click on the NLRB notice. This goes to my Twitter. And you'll see this sheet here, which they mailed to me. In fact, I don't know why I didn't just do this. This is because this is Cenk Uygur violated Section 7 of the NLRA. It's in one of those sentences right up here. I'll scroll on screen as you can see it right here, Section 7. Yet he will tell you that he's not a union buster. I posted this tweet. Credit to Hanzi83. He's the guy who called Cenk and did beat every single progressive show into confronting him about it. So this is the first time Cenk was asked about being a union buster, answering a question, are you a union buster? So first, notice there's the notice to employees. Here's the 4 headlines from those 4 articles filled with details. I didn't even finish going through the list. They, withholding people's raises and bonuses is a classic union busting tactic. Cenk sent these emails begging his workers not to unionize. This is the union, but on the left here, TYT union themselves were battling publicly for their right to collectively organize, and Cenk was bullying them. Union busting is bullying. It works because it hurts people. Yet, if you ask Cenk if he's a union buster,
are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster.
There's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence?
Beautiful.
Are you?
Tellthetruthjank.com for more. It's like a downshift. I don't know if my internet is slow right now or something. So, all right. So Cenk will deny that he's a union buster. I have an article coming up. Look, we're going to re-react to it. We're going to watch this again, but I have an article coming up that I've been working on. Well, before we get to that, let me just show you. So there's the union busting that the government caught him doing. There's these 4 articles that you should go read. As I detail in this article, 2 versions, 1 truth evidence for my claims about the Young Turks is, I'm making some pretty stark claims about why we started the union. And I have all the proof showing why. I'll use my middle mouse button to scroll it. So these are the emails Cenk sent to unionizing workers. They're really fascinating documents about union busting and the mindset of union busters. I break it down into a lot of detail here and kind of react to different parts of it. I should probably make some videos about these. This part here, where at the top of the email, Cenk says, no one ever raised a single issue, and that we were suddenly engaged in some sort of trench warfare, as if we're evil management that deprives their employees of the basics. By the way, Anna helped them. She's not in charge at TYT. She is executive producer, has a prominent role, but she did signal boost the union busting. She did the conspiracy lie, the slanderous conspiracy lie. So she is, and she did no fact checking either. So she is also should be held accountable. And I would love it to. She blocked me on Twitter. We weren't like close pals or anything like that, but we always got along fine when I talked to her. I started working at TYT in 2013. I worked there off and on between then and like 2020. Was a paying member before that. I think I already said that. These are tweets that I put out that day. So TYT's version of the story is that outsiders started TYT Union in order to hurt Cenk's run for Congress. He was a bully. He was bullied by Nancy Pelosi, his opponent Christy Smith, and their IATSE minions, and he was a victim of dirty political tricks, and he had no choice but to bust the union in order to fight the establishment. And also, by the way, that narrative prevents him from answering the question, which you're about to look at right here, is why did your workers unionize? It was politics. Nope, motherfucker. It wasn't. It was exploitative working conditions. It took me 12 months working full-time hours as a video editor before I received a single benefit, before I received a paid day off, or any health insurance whatsoever. 12 months, during which I started a union and helped with my friends who are also interested. They cared about my situation, but my story is not the only reason. All the reasons are disrespect, but there's plenty of other reasons. I really would love a journalist to get a hold of this, because there's a whole deeper story here. I worked full-time hours. TYT's own threshold for full-time hours is 30. I think out of all those weeks over 14 months, I think maybe 2 of them were technically under 30, meaning like by averaging out 8-hour days. Because I recall one was Francis canceled last minute, or he was changing. So like if there was a production stop, or because I did a lot of regular editing. I did Happy Half Hour with Brett Ehrlich. I actually edited Aggressive Progressive with Jimmy Dore. And I used to be on the Jimmy Dore show in 2016. I've been around this world for a long time. I have a whole history here. And I never expected my TYT journey to end up this. It's always kind of crazy to me when I think about it, which is a lot. I edited main show editing quite a bit. I did some backup for Damage Report, but not a lot. I did a bunch of special projects. I edited a thing called TYT Academy, which TYT, there was a news article about it. That's why I know this number. It's not because of inside information. It's an Axios piece. It's in one of these articles, one of these Substacks. They were paid $500,000, according to this article, for this YouTube-funded journalism academy. And it's almost likely that I might be the only person who ever saw it. These are my hours. Look how much work I've put into this. All those X's are days I would have been paid had I been classified the same as my coworkers. I was sitting next to people who had employee on their paperwork. They got health insurance, bonus participation, and paid days off. And they're sitting next to a guy who's doing the exact same job, whose paperwork says independent contractor, and I'm getting no benefits, no paid, and I'm paid less per hour than everybody else. That's actually a minor detail. I think it's important, but I wouldn't be making a documentary about low pay. $21.63 for professional video editing in Los Angeles for shit that goes on television is pretty fucking low. And with the union, I was hoping to maybe get bumped up to 25. I mean, 40 would be low, but I would have been fine with a few dollars more. But I just wanted to end the fucking disrespect. It felt like they were stealing from me. Every day I went to work feeling like I was being mugged. And the only thing that gave me any sense of hope was that I went out of my way to start talking about unionizing the Young Turks. And by the way, just so you understand, this is going on way too much. God damn it. It's not the entire company. It's only about 15 people. I don't know the composition now. It's been some years, but the original composition of the vote was 9-6. So it's 15 people in the union, and it's like maybe 20 to 25% of the company. I think TYT employs like 70-ish people. It takes like 60 people to carry around Cenk's ego. So, you know, it's a lot. It takes a lot of effort. I asked Cenk for help. Hey, I don't think this is fair. See this sheet here? Notice how the job classification changes? Can I get paid days off? Can I get health insurance? And the guy who tells the camera how brutal and barbaric it is that people don't get health insurance in this country told me no. No, you can't have health insurance.
I'm going to just read this here, Anna, from a YouTube member, because I want you guys to understand the real life effects of this. Their handle is I Smoke and I Know Things. They say, I'm a disabled mom with 2 still at home. I get Medicare and Medicaid. I get Medicare and Medicaid pays for my premium and co-pays. I barely clear $1,000 a month, so I will now have no insurance. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you have no insurance? The thing I can't get out of my head is, it's not a twisted ankle, guys. If you get cancer and you don't have insurance, it's a death sentence.
But what we'll do is we'll stop calling you independent contractor. And right around here, near the end of the independent contractor, I'm starting to think about I was thinking about it for a couple of months, but right around here, I'm starting to like bring it up a little. I've got along great with that team too. It was a really great crew, really, really talented people. I really love those people. That's why it pisses me off that their story was erased, that this guy went out of his way to lie to his audience. And it sounds like, from what I can tell, he's also going to lie to the Jubilee audience. That's fucked up. That's really fucked up. So instead of calling you an independent contractor, hanky boy, we'll change your status. We'll hire you. You'll do the same job, but we'll call you part-time temporary. Remember, TYT's own threshold is 30 hours. Look at these hours. Look at this. Every workday that says 9, that's because there's like a day off, though, you know, so those don't count as to normalize under this orange column. Cenk Uygur is the kind of person that can hire you, call you part-time, have you work 40-hour weeks, so he gets to keep your day off money and go to sleep at night, and then have the temerity to sit in front of 15 million people on Jubilee. Again, maybe he turns around and says the truth, but I guarantee you he doesn't. He smeared his own workers publicly in order to help bust this union. So he did actually fire, and sorry, this is all over the place. He did actually fire somebody during the union busting. He fired the person who he threatened to at the captive audience meeting on February 12th. He fired them on March 4th or 5th, but it was the day after the election loss. So a company, look, so yeah, I try not to get too deep into it, but they swore that they were going to separate their ethical practice. So he stopped being CEO during his run for Congress and assigned that to this guy named Jack Gerard. Geez, look at Huffington Post. We're not afraid. So in order to uphold ethical obligations, this is Jack Gerard, the former health insurance executive who became this acting CEO during the campaign, ostensibly to keep their business practices separated from their political campaign. And otherwise, they risk any appearances or work done through the media companies becoming in-kind contributions, which is in violation of campaign finance laws and stuff. I don't know what the statute of limitations on any of that shit is. This would actually be another one of those things, like a Legal Eagle or some sort of law firm account or law firm YouTube channel would probably have an interesting time digging into. But nevertheless, despite that separation of business decisions and political decisions, they waited until the morning after he lost an election to fire somebody who was forming a union. Now, I didn't say because they were forming a union. I said who was forming a union. So I'm going to guess that the detail Cenk is going to glom onto here. Let's find our guy. Okay, this guy. I need to learn a lot of these Jubilee Surrounded cast people are like content creators often, and they have their own online presences. So I'll be very interested to see if any of, especially this guy. I mean, this guy is now entered the Tell the Truth Cenk, drama. When we make a narrative dramatization about this whole story, Brad Pitt's going to play this guy. He's also going to play me. And you too, if you like and subscribe. So what is it? So that Cenk says, okay, you smeared me, but here he says,
tear down.
That's just weird to mention guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up.
Fine. So since you smeared me, let's explain.
Okay. Since you smeared me, I imagine Cenk is a lawyer. He thinks he's very intelligent. He actually even said in the latest Sydney Sweeney video about genes being good or bad or something, that he does have good genes and logical reasoning, which I think was very funny.
Guess what? Sorry to everyone who hates me. I have good genes. Not in terms of attractiveness, but in other regards, right? My logical reasoning is excellent. But it's...
Yeah, super logical, Janky boy. Starts a business that attracts movement lefties, half of whom are professional storytellers.
No, I don't think Cenk is a good businessman. I think he is both a shitty boss in a lot of ways and a bad businessman. And he wants to be over and across everything, constantly talking. And to be fair, I mean, it's probably better than him trying to run for office again.
Oh, yeah. What a humiliation.
Treats him like shit and expects there to be no downsides. Like, the guy uses misclassification to deny people benefits. And he's stunned that they unionized a bunch of the lefty progressive liberals that work there. Not that they have a test, but as I say, if you don't want your workers unionizing, be the Daily Wire. The people who are going to end up working at TYT are going to be people who have liberal, lefty, progressive politics, right? Come on. So if he's going to say he was smeared, I imagine he's reacting to the guy saying you fired someone for unionizing. And then if you want to go read about this event, this article goes into the details of that firing. This is In These Times by Hamilton Nolan, really good writer. Guy does a good Substack, labor reporter. Would love it if he did a follow-up on this story. I imagine that's what Cenk will set his sights on, because they get into that in this article about the details around that firing. Which he waited until the morning after the boss's election loss, and it's an intimidation tactic to try to intimidate everybody else. And to a large degree, the union busting, even though it eventually failed, it took 2 months. It included internal and external pressure campaign because of the media and the nature of this company. The public side of it was very public. TYT Union did a lot of battling. They went out of their way. Okay. I keep going to like Google to look up stuff, but I have it all here written out. So TYT Union Twitter is worth a look. Scroll all the way down, and if you can, it's not that. Just go take a pee while you let it scroll. These are statements that they put out as they were battling Cenk publicly in order to try to gain public support for him to recognize the union finally. He did not want this union. This was not because of politics. This was because of ideology and evasion. He was trying to prevent ever having to tell his audience the stuff I am telling you now. If working part-time, if working 40-hour weeks while you're called part-time for zero benefits is not a reason to unionize, I don't know what the fuck is. I don't think you have to be the most extreme lefty to even get your head around that. The disrespect was unbelievable working for this guy. I thought it was pretty clever by using these yellow and green emojis to highlight those parts. So they did an Action Network petition. So he's going to say he's not a union buster when you watch him on Jubilee. So it was straight up union busting. It was written about. Lots of people called him out. There was all kinds of support coming from various quarters trying to get them, their attention. Here's the NLRB stuff. There it is. I knew I had it in one of these. So yeah, these articles I have written here are filled with him being with all this detail about this whole thing. I put a lot of work into this project. The union busting emails from Cenk are fascinating, as I've said. So you've heard him already. So it got brought up by that caller. So here he is reacting after he gets the call. He hangs up and then he just goes into straight up gaslight mode. How could he possibly be a union buster if there's a union at TYT?
By the way, you're so pro worker, right? Then why is your ex-staff accusing you of being a union buster then?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll answer all these. Even though, like, so this is just random.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So.
Well, there's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence? All right, brother. You've had a nice run. Bye-bye. Okay, so, but let me address that. Okay. Because I know I'm going to get crank calls when you do random.
Put on your gas mask. Put on your gas mask. It's got to get lit.
Callers. And I know that they're going to try to bring up stuff. Wow. Oh, wow. So, guys, we busted the union so hard here that there's a union here. Edwin, are you in the union? Edwin's in the union. Look at that. Oh, that's so weird. John, you in the union?
Yes, I am.
Huh. They appear to be entirely unbusted. So, guys, this is a thing that happened 4 years ago. And they
That's not how it works. Just because you failed at it doesn't mean you didn't try. Same with phishing and arson.
Oh my God, they're the union busters. We had, union came in, IATSE. We had negotiations. It was the most lovely, peaceful, amicable negotiations you've ever seen in your life.
Sure it was.
We have great health care here. We have really good benefits. And then we had a union. So
we started the union because I didn't get any benefits. I know I know this is all repetitive, but it's looking for green right up here. Yeah, there you go. Contractor gets no benefits, no benefits. You're looking at a reason to start a union. Oh, Jesus, I think my internet's just. I mean, come on. We have great benefits, he says. All the times you hear him screaming about paid family leave, right in here says where. So leaves of absence. I wasn't allowed to have any paid family leave for 12 months. I did get almost full benefits after 12 months. So it was very close, but it took 12 months. Even under 2 classifications, this applied. Amazing. Let's keep going with this.
And the thing is, everyone has different version of me in their mind, right? Based on whatever crazy crap that they saw online. So people who, I mean, that guy's.
Some people think he's an economic populist from the left. Some people believe that because they watch him and they believe what he says. Those are the people we're trying to reach with this project.
It's totally out of control in 1,000 different ways, right? He just wanted to say every negative thing in the world. I still literally don't know which side he's on or what he's for, other than just being angry. And then I thought it was fairly amusing overall. But for people who actually think that we busted a union and there's no union here, yeah, I can see why they'd be angry, but it's not true. And so, but I gave up caring about that stuff because there's literally millions of people who believe terrible things about me that aren't even anywhere near true. So what am I gonna do? Fucking internet, you know what I'm saying? Okay.
Just another internet thing.
Fucking internet.
Just another internet hoax. Fucking internet. How are you gonna do? Fucking internet. So real quick, I want to show you this. Francesca Fiorentini, who I didn't do a ton of work with, but I knew her. She was remote, but much of the time, you know, she was working and I think she was based in San Francisco over some of those years. I think she's in LA now, but she brought my name up when she talked to Cenk in December. And this is how he reacted.
Longtime contributors who were editors, like Hank. I remember Hank and like the fact that, you know, he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are. But okay.
Hank was such a great guy. Like total rage out, crazy, freaking wild, man. One more time with the laugh here. Watch this. Watch. Hank was such a great guy.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying.
Look at those eyes. He doesn't like this. This is 2024, so this thing has been going on, man. Good God, please make it stop. Dan and Emma. Sorry, since we're here, let's look at it. Dan from the internet does a show, Power Report. I was on it during our interview. Oh God, this internet is killing me. This is freaking horrible. Oh, I'm not even on my internet. God damn it. All right, internet should be better now. Good. Dan and I talked, and he revealed that they brought him into a one-on-one meeting to ask him about union activity. That's illegal. That's one of those things you're not supposed to do. Does that sound like something the home of progressives would do, especially one where no union busting happened? Here he is talking about it.
Hasan leaves, some other people I enjoy leave, you leave. I hear about the union things.
February 2020.
I was brought into a meeting because I was suspected of organizing or being a part of organizing it.
When?
And
I need slow down. Tell me every detail, man. This is amazing.
I'm not sure how much I want to talk about this.
I wanted him to give me a 30-minute and then this and like a beat by beat. Not that he disappointed me, but I was like, oh no, don't let this moment end. This is great. That was a big deal to hear that, because it affirmed that they were doing shady shit even more. I mean, it's yet more evidence, yet more proof, yet more corroboration and testimony. I even double checked with him about the date of it, because if it was after the 12th is a critical pivot point, because that's when the union formally started its Twitter account and delivered a letter to Cenk. But if it was before the 12th, that means that they were doing it with it's just a different. That's an important detail whether it was before or after. Still bad either way, but if it's before, it's worse in my opinion. Okay.
But I will say that after producing a show, I was called into a meeting by someone higher up in the network, and I was asked about if I had heard about these things. And I was kind of pretty sure I was leaving. And I felt like I was running my limits of pushing this network as left as I could possibly do it as one person who was really involved with it, especially with Hasan gone. And that meeting did it for me.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I have principles about unions and workers' rights. I come from a union family. That matters to me. And the idea that I would be, I won't really say maybe it was an intimidation tactic on paper. I didn't feel intimidated.
It is an intimidation tactic. Emma Vigeland, co-host of the Majority Report, I met her once, mentioned that although she was not employed at TYT at the time, maybe she was. Actually, I'm pretty sure she was still a contributor by this point. Yeah, sorry. Why did I think that? I don't remember when she left, but she revealed that TYT higher-ups communicated with her and asked her to keep the story quiet. And she's expressed some remorse for her choice to keep it quiet. Not that she was in on some big conspiracy, but this is the way power works. This is the way you can be manipulated, because they had this, IATSE, and this is politics. The politics thing spins this into this giant crazy mess. And there's another part, not from this clip here, but that's where she mentioned, she expressed some regret about the union. And I think she even used the word shame. So not including this to kind of call her out at all. I'm really grateful for her interest and attention to, and willingness to confront and talk about it with TYT. And I talked to Sam Cedar on a phone call once, not like on the show. I mean, not like I just got his number, but I would love to get back on Majority Report. And I know their audience would love to hear about this story.
Honestly, I think you can also see it reflected in the way you treat your employees, right? Like with the efforts to bust the union.
Oh my God, the union busting was so gross.
It was. And even at the time, I received a call from somebody high up in the network asking me not to speak publicly about it. I was young. I kind of have regrets about that I should have spoken up a little bit more publicly, but I was also not making too much money and trying not to rock the boat, but it was a part of the decision that I made, to leave.
So you notice that commonality between Dan and Emma, both felt some kind of, I don't want to speak of them necessarily, but some sort of moral violation, some kind of ethical quandary about a company that they were working for that was doing some shady stuff with unions. And I really would love to see the rest of the TYT staff come out Where's JR? Where's John Idarola? Where's Brett Ehrlich? Where's all those guys speaking up about this? There's never been any reporting about it on TYT. It's just a big, huge cover up. So I put a shit ton of work into all this. And just real quick, I'll preview the article I'm going to publish soon. This is the other time Cenk was asked about the union. This is the Generational Change podcast with Peter Hagar and Jen Perlman. They've renamed it Revolutionary Change podcast now. So it's now called Revolutionary Change. But very friendly interview. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but we'll start with just Peter's question. And just to show you how friendly this was a very gentle toss-up for Cenk. They trust him. And that's why this article is titled To Their Trusting Faces. Cenk lies about TYT union in friendly interview, smears employees. He then says that we were bullying other workers there. This is disgusting, but he's lying to them. I'm going to bet that we're going to see more of this kind of lie in that Jubilee, although it looks like it was a little way more intense and heated. So, but we'll do Peter's question, then we'll jump ahead a little to Cenk talking about it.
Of people, especially in Los Angeles.
Sorry,
one of the
backing up.
I'm in commercial real estate, and one of the things that I think people on the left have a very big misnomer about, and everyone always wants to bring up the whole unionization effort at TYT. Can you explain to the audience, you've been running the Young Turks for 20 years. That's one hell of a long time to be running a small business that became a big business. Can you share with the audience a little bit of what it's like to be in free market America and the pressures that come with employing dozens of people, especially in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive markets in the country, all the things that you've had to do over the years? Because I don't think people truly understand. I'm not, giving a blank slate here, but I don't think people truly recognize the amount of pressure that goes into running the operation that you run on a day-to-day basis.
Oh yeah, I mean, media.
You can't get much gentler than that. I mean, that's giving birth on your knees in a bathtub kind of gentleness. Why did I have to make it super weird and gross? Fuck, sorry. But I mean, that's the best way to do it, isn't it? I don't know. What the fuck, man? What's wrong with me? Talk about a toss-up, and I'm not saying this to call it Peter. They trust this guy. He doesn't know that they're lying. That's kind of what the whole film was about. Him taking advantage of people. He took advantage of you if you were a fan of TYT back then. He took advantage of your trust. And then he goes on about the media industry and stuff. But so let's jump ahead. I even put a little timer on screen to help. We'll just Substack player, just not fucking. Sorry, I'm used to YouTube. Come on.
To the unionizing, there's this misnomer out there that our enemies push out there. They crack me up. So they back when I was running for office.
I love that they crack me up because that's the Francesca laugh moment.
Ben are such. I'm just saying.
That's the guy who actually is not. I don't think he's having fun laughter or being cracked up by it. That's him being very angry, but not wanting to say that because that would draw attention. He's trying to pretend that he's unbothered by it, but of course he's very bothered by it. And all that's being demanded is that he does the right thing, which is tell the truth. Be honest about it. Hold this up. I want to see this in Cenk's hand on TYT. I want to see Cenk hold this up to his camera. They have a copy. I'll be glad to make a copy and send him this one. Put this on camera and say that I violated Section 7 of the NLRA. This was found in 2022 by the government after the NLRB cases generated by my union busting. And the reasons my workers started a union is because of exploitative working conditions, particularly that I had somebody classified part-time while they worked 40-hour weeks for zero benefits. Because the story that TYT's audience has been told is the story he's about to tell them. And it's real bullshitty. I mean, like it doesn't make any sense if you think about it. Just say yes to the union and you don't fall for the trap. It would have been the bright spot of his campaign. But the story he wants his audience to believe is that Nancy Pelosi and her political minions started the union at the Young Turks.
Just like Jen was in 2000.
Sorry, I said he was running for office just like Jen was. So like I said, she ran for Congress. Yeah, I would love their support for the project. I'm not trying to call them out, but they are going to be the documentary because it's about the way misinformation works.
Unions were on the side of my Democratic establishment supporter, and that's unfortunate. And unfortunately, in the past, the unions generally tended to support more pro-corporate Democrats, which never made any sense. It's totally irrational. Thank God now Sean Fain, Sean O'Brien are beginning to change that, and the unions have a different attitude now, which I love. But back then, IATSE was a union that was supporting Christy Smith in that race, and they were actually the main union that were knocking on doors, etc. And then right in the middle of that campaign, at its most heated moment, we were about to have a debate finally with Christy Smith. This story popped up that that TYT was going to be unionized, and I never heard of it. And I thought that they were, you know, that
Like,
it was,
why would we have told them? Why would we have included the guy whose horrible bossing we were trying to stop in our union to stop his horrible bossing? That's why he had never heard of it. But he's also kind of lying there, because Dan said that he was called into the union stuff before the meeting. Like, all union drives they become more leaky. The probability of them becoming leaky goes up as the bargaining unit expands. Inevitably, management's going to probably catch wind of rumors, and that's just how it works. There's no way to kind of avoid that necessarily, you know. But we were very careful as the core unit of it, as we took great care to not have conversations on company property or in company resources and stuff, besides little like whispery type trusting stuff, you know. So like, he probably had heard of it before, but he definitely didn't include him in any of our communications about it. So yeah, it's kind of just nuts that he's doing all this and lying to everybody. So more about that to come. Let's watch the Jubilee thing again. Oh no, we got Vanguard to react. This is great. Sorry. Fuck, this went too long.